Hello and welcome to Storytelling.
Tony is my name, and I am 55 years old at this point. Having my very own garage is a unique experience for me because I constructed it from the ground up. When I was 18 years old, I began working for my uncle. I was just starting out. At the end of 7 years, I had accumulated sufficient funds to launch my very own garage. The first few years were challenging, and I put in a lot of effort to make it work effectively. As the subsequent 30 years passed, it developed into what it is today. Is it possible that I fell in love? I did, in fact, develop feelings for Hannah. During her time as a student, I had the opportunity to meet her at an auto show. Almost immediately, a connection was made. We decided to get together and exchanged phone numbers. We were only able to communicate with one another through phone calls because we were located in different cities. We got together once more a few months later. This time, the gathering came to a close at my residence. Not only was she incredible, but the fact that it was her very first time does make it even more remarkable. Hannah's parents passed away a few months later, and her ability to pay for her university education was also in jeopardy. Because I was certain that she was the one for me, I came to her aid and set aside some of my savings to put toward her education. Because she was so overcome with emotion, she began crying and then hugged me. After a period of 5 years, she had relocated to live with me and secured a position as a lawyer at a law firm in the proximity. Hiking was something that we had done on a Sunday, which was a beautiful day. At the top of the hill, which we reached after 3 hours of climbing, we had a view of the entire city. Unexpectedly, Hannah lowered herself to one knee and made the proposal. When I was asked, I responded with a yes. I was presented with a ring, and she told me, from this point forward, you will be mine forever. After we had already tied the knot, we decided to hold a very intimate ceremony 3 weeks later. It was a wonderful time for us over the next 20 years. Maria, who is now 19 years old, and James, who is now 18 years old, are the 2 children that we have. Both are embarking on their own lives at this point. In the meantime, Maria is finishing up her studies at the university and James is acting as the lead guitarist for a local rock band. As soon as both of my children left the house, I felt a sense of contentment and fulfillment with my life. Despite the fact that I never went to college, people have always considered me to be a brute. It never bothered me in any way. At this point in time, Hannah underwent a transformation. I knew everything there was to know about her after we had been married for 20 years, including how she thinks, how she acts, and even how she lies. There was an excessive amount of overtime work at her new workplace. A little over a year ago, she had switched jobs, which not only brought her more money but also more glamour. Her new boss was a prominent attorney who was well known for his work in the courtroom. Despite the fact that I never liked him, I never imagined that I would have to come into contact with him. After roughly 3 months of observing Hannah, I confronted her and inquired about the late-night working hours that she had been putting in. Even though I am a kind and gentle person, today was not like any other day. Not once had Hannah witnessed the other side of me. 20 minutes of intense questioning was all it took for her to finally give in and cry out. She confessed to having sexual relations with her new boss. To put it simply, I had a question: why? I married the same man 20 years ago, and you are the same person. You have never evolved or advanced in any way. The clothes you wear are shabby, you have the appearance of a brute, and you are unpresentable in society. I want something better, someone who can be treated on an equal footing with me. You just give in to everything I want, you never took charge as an alpha male, and you never acted as if you were the husband. I looked at her and then asked, have you decided that you want to leave me after my loyalty for more than 25 years? Would you say that I am not a good husband simply because I do not abuse or dominate you, and that this is the reason why you cannot invite me to your parties? I made sure that you became a lawyer. I sent 2 of my children to college, and how come I am not considered to be good enough today? After that, she made an attempt to be tough with me. It is up to you to comprehend this circumstance and accept it in its current state. I am going to be with my new lover, and you ought to welcome this change. You will be divorced, and I will take away everything that you have ever worked for if you do not comply with my demands. As a result of my actions, you will be involved in legal proceedings, and you will spend the rest of your life bouncing between the courtroom and the streets. After that, I will remove your most prized possession, which is the garage that you have constructed over the course of many years. Thus, you had better get ready for it." In my chair, I sat back and relaxed. "You think you can put me in a legal process and take away everything?" She gave a slight nod. My laughter was followed by the words, "Best of luck." After she made an attempt to speak, I did not permit her to do so and instead got up and left the house. In the morning of the following day, I came across Hannah and had just left the house to go to work. Following my departure, Hannah put in a call to her lover. "Sweetheart, what exactly is the matter with you, John? The way you look is awful." She stated, "Tony is aware of our existence. It was this morning when he confronted me. I informed him of everything that might make things more complicated. On the other hand, this is not the end of the world. I am certain that we discussed the possibility of this happening. However, when the time came, it was painful. In the end, Tony and I have been together for 25 years, we have been married for 20 years, and we have 2 children together." "What did you say to him?" John inquired about it. "Exactly what we had agreed upon," she said. "I didn't even bother to give it a shot. You are aware that I am a terrible liar. The script that you suggested was pretty much the one that I adopted. I told him the truth, which is that you are a successful career woman, a lawyer at that, who has been married to a simple mechanic for the majority of her adult life. I told him that you have accomplished a lot in your career. An individual who has never made an effort to improve himself. That for the first time in your life, you desired to be with an alpha male, someone who is on par with you, a man who is capable of taking charge, and not someone who is always willing to comply with your every whim. Yes, that's pretty much it. Do not, however, put him down an excessive amount. He does, in fact, run his own company at this point, and his trade has been able to provide for me and my children, allowing them to attend college and allowing me to attend university. When we were practicing it, it seemed as though I deserved someone like you. That's the only thing that happened. But when he reminded me of the years of support, both emotionally and financially, that he had provided, then everything sounded a little hollow, you know what I'm saying. Are you sure that you told him everything? That if he did not agree to the current state of affairs, the company would support you throughout the divorce process and leave him without any financial resources. Yes, John, I did indeed do that. The only issue is that he didn't appear to give a rat's ass about all of that extraneous information. The only thing he did was keep saying that he couldn't believe I was going to abandon him after all of his loyalty. John, I have to admit that it was painful. When I tried to explain to him that I wasn't dismissing him, but rather that I felt I deserved a little bit more, I don't think he understood what I was saying. John, I don't want to do anything to lose him. Just a little bit more, Jen? I am affronted by this. I heard you say that you adore my big honey. You told me that it took you places that his old hobby hadn't taken you in years, and I believe you. Do you remember saying that you had never experienced sex like that before? Yes, John, I did indeed do that. However, I have already mentioned that I did not have a lot of experience when I married Tony, and he was always very kind. Because you are so different, so authoritarian, and so demanding, I was completely swept away by you. Yes, and I will continue to engulf you in my embrace, our beloved. Your husband will simply have to come to terms with the fact that you now possess an additional dimension. He has lost his position as the top dog because of you. In this place, I am the dominant male, and he will have to come to terms with that fact. In spite of this, I would be mortified to think that I have caused you to lose a marriage that has lasted for 25 years. Allow me to tell you something, I will get some documents ready, and then I will go see him this afternoon. Please provide me with the number of his workshop. What documents? Any and all ideas that come to mind. You are aware of the sleight of hand that we play on all ignorant fools. He is prohibited from coming anywhere near you, me, or your residence, according to the orders. There are documents that freeze his company's bank accounts. And that's just the beginning. Give him a mountain of papers that he is not qualified to know or that are nothing more than bluffs. When it comes to your little hobby, you are about to be informed in no uncertain terms exactly who the dominant person is in this area. I can assure you, sweetheart, that by the time I have finished harassing him, he will be pleading with you to give him whatever scraps he can get his hands on. I'm still not sure. You did not see his face this morning, did you see it? It was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon when the dominant male showed up at my garage. I would like to come in, Mr. Brown. It is my name. I know who you are. Good, that saves some time. I believe Hannah told you this morning that the arrangement that she and I have will continue into the foreseeable future. What she didn't tell you, I believe, is why you'll allow it. If I could just sit my briefcase here. Thank you. I don't know if you're aware, but I am the owner of the company Hannah works for. That means I have over 20 lawyers at my disposal, and I can absolutely assure you that every single one of them was chosen because of their superior record of cases. Over half of them are experienced in divorce law, and believe me, I'll have no hesitation unleashing every single one of them against you. This bundle is just what I got ready to file this morning. I'll go through them briefly. This is a petition for divorce. See, your wife has already signed it. This is an order freezing your company accounts until the business can be sold under a settlement agreement. This is an order giving you 24 hours to vacate your marital home. These four are restraining orders keeping you at least 200 meters away from myself, Hannah, her home, and our place of business. Do you see which way this is going to go, Tony boy? I'll have you so wrapped up in legal writs, you won't be able to move. You'll give up in the end when you don't have a penny left to find the world's worst lawyer. And guess what? All through this, I'll still be your wife. Yes, I can see you're bigger and stronger than me, but you have to realize, Neanderthals don't rule the world anymore. Brains won over brawn years ago. Look, it doesn't have to be like that, Mr. Brown, not at all. Let's just keep the status quo, shall we? I'll keep her when I want, and you get her when she wants, just like it's been for the last 4 months. Hey, why make waves? I'll get sick of her one day, then she'll be all yours again. All right, I've said my piece. Let's face it, if you'd been all she needed, we wouldn't be here now, would we? My advice is to just accept it, take it. On the chin, use it as an opportunity for self-improvement. One piece of advice though, buddy, stand up to your wife a little more. I stole her off you not by being the most charming guy who tried, but by being the alpha male and telling her how it was going to end up, just like I've done with you. Have you finished yet, windbag? I can see that like most of society today, you don't have a clue what the term alpha male means. Do you want a mere mechanic to explain it to you? Go on, cuck, tell me what it means. Well, they do say a picture paints 1,000 words. With this, I took a half step forward and drove my right fist into the lawyer's face. There was a satisfying crunch of gristle and teeth being dislodged. John slumped to the floor, his back against the wall of the workshop, a look of absolute amazement clear on the undamaged part of his face. Consider that illustration number 1. Before the pain really cut in, I lifted John to his feet, but immediately dropped him again with an uppercut to the diaphragm. This time, John lay on his side, gasping for breath, and that's illustration number 2. Just as John's search is paying dividends, my steel-capped right boot stomps on the lawyer's outstretched hand, breaking the wrist and several bones within the hand. A boot to the chest, breaking 3 ribs, settles Tony's rage for the moment, and they were illustrations 3 and 4. And Mr. Alpha, it would really help if you stopped squealing. I'm trying to teach you something here. By the way, thanks for making me break my promise to myself back in high school never to use my size and strength offensively. I was going to leave you out of the consequences of Hannah's actions until you came barging in here, rubbing my nose in it. Even gentlemen have their breaking points. I rest my foot on John's throat until I gain the ladder's full attention again. Now, back to your education. The term alpha male comes from wolf packs. He's the one and only wolf who tells all the others what to do. He might not be the smartest wolf or even the biggest, but what he is the meanest around, the one that will kill without a second's hesitation. He's absolutely ruthless. And you, son, don't even come close. You may be the alpha in the small world of your air-conditioned office, but out here in the big world, you're just another pissant. And I really wouldn't go around calling yourself smart. You didn't even bring a witness. You're dumb. Now let's look at the possible futures here. Option 1 is that you report this to the police. Maybe they arrest me, maybe they don't. Maybe they let me out on bail, maybe they don't. Maybe they pin it on me, maybe they can't. There's a lot of maybes in there, John. Worst case scenario for me is that I get a 5-year apprenticeship in prison, 5 years of learning how to hurt people, how to kill and hide the body so no one ever finds it. And then when I finish my apprenticeship, we'll have another conversation like this one. Or windbag, you can chalk this up to experience, use it as one of your learning experiences of what can happen when you screw another man's wife. Now off, I have some cleaning to do thanks to you, bleeding and Jesus fin Christ craping yourself on my nice clean workshop floor. Alpha my ARS. Hannah called John that evening. John, I'm waiting at the office. I thought you'd be back ages ago. Where are you? I've just been admitted to a ward in the hospital after 3 hours in casualty. My God, what happened? Were you in an accident? No, I underestimated your husband. I stupidly went to see him alone. He broke my nose, my left hand, some ribs, and possibly my cheekbone. I don't believe it. He's never been violent that I know of. Believe me, it's true. I'll show you the X-rays if you like. My God, I can't believe it. Not my Tony. Is there any way I can stop you going to the police? We kind of brought this on ourselves. Despite what he's done, Tony doesn't deserve to end up in prison over this. The police have already been here. I told them I was knocked down by a hit-and-run driver. Your darling, gentle husband told me that as bad as I am now, this is only a down payment on what I can expect if I press charges. I can't risk getting hurt again. I've decided to keep my mouth well and truly shut. That sounds a bit woey. It sounds like you're terrified of him. I just can't believe it. Tony wouldn't hurt a fly. Well, believe me, I have the broken bones to prove it. Just doing what I need to do to survive, Jen. Now I've got to go. They filled me full of pain meds and they are starting to kick in. The next day, at John's hospital bedside, John said, John, you have to help me. I drove around till after 8 last night. I didn't know if it would be safe to go home. I tried ringing Tony to ask, but he never picked up. When I finally reached home, all the locks were changed. I couldn't get in. I ended up staying at my sister's house. I checked this morning, and all our bank accounts are empty, and none of our credit cards work. You have to help me. Can you get one of the divorce guys at work to start the process of getting Tony removed from the house? Can I come stay with you until then? No to what? All of it. If I use company assets and resources to help you, he will have cause to come after me again. In fact, I'm going to play it safe. You're fired, Jen. I'll pay you an extra for weeks in severance if you pack up and leave today. Can you tell Tony that I fired you if you see him, please? Didn't you hear me? Tony has cleaned me out. Without money, a job, or your help, I'm screwed from the start. I'm sorry, Jen. You didn't see your husband's face as he beat me up. I'm doing what I have to do. Your behavior the day before was pitiful. You were boasting about the fact that you are a dominant male. You are trembling and stressed out today because you are afraid that my husband, who is 10 times more powerful than you are, is hiding under your bed. It's incomprehensible to me how I could ever imagine that I would be making a trade-up if I ended up with you. In addition, you are completely delusional if you believe that I ever took a cheater like you seriously. On the same day, Jennifer Brown was sitting peacefully in her car on the side of the road, with her credit cards being declined and her cash being depleted. It had been a matter of time before she ran out of fuel, it was only a matter of time. The idea of cancelling her phone service had not occurred to me, and I was not intentionally cruel in our interaction. In an attempt to find safety, she was making her way towards the city where her 2 children were currently residing. They never allowed more than an hour to pass before responding to her messages, even over the course of all those years. Just after 10 o'clock that morning, she began calling them on the phone. She performed another check of the messages. 0 to 1. Hannah let out a sigh, reached for her useless handbag, and promptly exited the vehicle while simultaneously straightening her skirt. She positioned herself on the side of the road and extended her thumb in front of her. I drove up in a van that had seen better days and smiled to myself as I approached the solitary woman who was standing by the side of the road. Despite the fact that I was well informed enough to understand that loners can never be described in such a manner, I would not have described myself as an alpha male. Apex predators hunt by themselves. The van came to a stop close to her. The news stunned her. She had the idea to run, but her body said no. She remained still and unmoving. I descended to the ground and requested that she enter. "We need to talk." She entered the room. I told her to get the divorce papers ready, and she was not to receive alimony or a portion of my assets. "I will take everything that I own with me, and you will keep everything that you own with you. You are going to return all of the jewelry that I purchased for you. As long as you are not a part of my life, I don't care what you choose to state as the reason for our divorce. I don't care what you say. Following the conclusion of the divorce proceedings, you will leave the city and never return. In the event that my children are interested in meeting you, you are free to speak with them and meet them in my absence. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, your belongings will be packed and ready to be picked up from the house because they will have been packed. You are going to come and get it as well. At 11 o'clock in the morning, if it is not picked up, it will be burned. Do you understand what I'm saying?" She gave a slight nod. "When will I be able to get the papers?" I inquired. According to her, it would take a week to complete. It is expected to be on my desk within the next 5 days, as I stated earlier. She gave a slight nod. One more time, I looked at her. It appeared as though she had witnessed a ghost. I smiled, then asked her to exit the vehicle, and then I drove away. At 10:30 in the morning the following day, she had already gathered her belongings. It was 5 days later when she finally delivered the papers, and the reason for the delay was cited as differences that could not be reconciled. It made me laugh. After a few months had passed, I obtained my freedom. It is a tragedy that my marriage ended in divorce. Hannah's lack of comprehension of what it means to be loyal is something that I deeply regret. That she believed that I was unable to change my clothes and become a presentable husband is something that I deeply regret saying. It did not occur to her that if a man who was 6 feet 5 inches tall attempted to dominate her in bed, she could sustain serious injuries. In an effort to save my marriage, I would have talked to my wife, but she chose to threaten me with consequences instead of trying to save my marriage. I am now at a point where there is no turning back for me. I will carry on with my life by myself, and it is possible that I will pass away by myself at some point in the future. In the end, every apex predator passes away by themselves. Dear listener, until we meet again, if you have made it this far, I would appreciate it if you would click the button that says subscribe. This will be of great assistance.